Now that all council members are in, we will commence the West Sacramento City Council Redevelopment Successor Agency and Financing Authority for the May 5th meeting. And we will proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Ms. Diane Summers. Want to make sure she's on. Madam Clerk, is she in the Zoom meeting?
Yes, she is here, Mayor.
Okay. Ms. Summers is the Executive Director of Suicide Prevention for Yolo Canyon, where hundreds of lives have been saved through the Suicide Prevention Hotline. And as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, I'd like for her to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Summers, you may begin.
Okay, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Really appreciate you doing this today.
You're welcome.
And pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, members of the West Sacramento City Council and staff will participate in this meeting via Zoom. To reduce the spread of COVID-19, members of the public are asked to watch the meeting via live stream on the city's website or wavetable. And we will have live public comments, and we will continue to receive written comments. And all comments received by 6 p.m. will be provided to City Council and posted on the website as well. To provide a live comment during the meeting, join the meeting using the Zoom meeting hyperlinked or phone number listed on the city's website. And I will request public comment during item 1A and prior to the first item on consent and after the staff presentation for any other item on the agenda. Once I've announced the public comment period, if you'd like to make a comment, please do one of the following. If you're joining the meeting via Zoom, press the raise hand button, or 2, if you're meeting by phone, press the *9. And then when it's your turn to comment, the clerk will call you by name or phone number and will unmute your microphone. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes. The clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining to wrap up your comments. And once your 3 minutes or public comment has ended, you will be muted again. So you may also join by phone, dialing 1-669-900-9128. ID number is 920-9564-2935, and the passcode is 004264. No actions were taken in the closed session related to the Police Managers Association contract negotiation. And the next item is agenda item 1A, which are presentations on the public on matters not included on the agenda, and council members are prohibited from discussion on any matter presented under this item. Madam Clerk, do you have anything in writing or live public comment requests?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the public. There are no written comments, and there are no, actually one person just raised her hand, Ms.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kristen,
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Kristen Burns, and I'm the Vice President of the West Sacramento Friends of the Library. And I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow is the big day of giving for the region, and we're participating once again, supporting the Arthur F. Turner Community Library. And we just want to thank the city participants for their support for this event and for supporting the library. With gifts, we'll be able to reach more readers through the summer reading program, offer more books in more titles and more languages that reflect the needs of our diverse community. And one of the other areas we're working on is refurbishing the community room, which has seen a lot of use over the years. And so we'll be working on improving the audio presentation and also replacing the carpet. So thank you very much. If anyone is interested in contributing tomorrow, it's bigdayofgiving.org/SWSFOL. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christy. Next item is 1B, Council Communications from our assignments. Either Council Member Alcala, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I attended the Local Agency Formation Committee on April 22nd. There were 2 public hearings regarding adopting the Joint Powers Agency Service Review for the Valley Clean Energy Alliance, as well as the adoption of modifications to the YOLO-LAFCO deposit fee schedule that is effective May 1st of 2021. There was considerable dialogue on broadband services regarding LAFCO's shared service initiative for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Richard DeLiberty was reappointed as an alternate public member to LAFCO for the next 4 years. And there was a long-range planning calendar that was also adopted. On April 28th, I attended on behalf of Councilmember Orozco, the Yolo County Housing Commission. There were several project reviews, including an MOU between Yolo County Housing and the Teamsters Local 856. There was a new organization chart for the Yolo County Housing Commission. And there was a presentation by the Yolo County Housing Real Estate Services and Supervisors entitled Safety and Public Housing. There was also a presentation and acknowledgement of Janice Holt for her years of service to the Yolo County Housing Commission. And finally, there was the long-range planning model that was presented by the commission. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Alcala. Any other updates, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma?
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, just earlier this evening, we had the meeting of the Sacramento Yolo Port District Commission and Board of Directors for the Sacramento Yolo Port Financing Corporation. So there was a closed session, no action was taken. It was with real property negotiators, but no action was taken. There was one item on the regular agenda, which was a report or a staff update on their search for funding for electric vehicle charging stations at the port, which is a really good thing as the port looks to converting some of their equipment to all electric. They're looking to pursue grant opportunities to put electric charging stations at the port, which is right in line with where the port has been going in terms of trying to be a green port, but also with our alignment with us as we look to reduce our carbon footprint in the city, notably by the port. So again, that's all we had for today. That's all I have to report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma. And Councilmember Orozco?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to just, I don't have a report. I just want to express my appreciation for Councilmember Alcala standing in for me on behalf of the city at Yolo County Housing. I had a work-related conflict, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Orozco. I love your background. It's very festive. And you do my own. And you have done a lot in the community. Appreciate you gathering the donations, with the girls and, doing that extra effort because I know you're helping out in other ways when you can. So thank you. And I do have one item to report. Councilmember Alcala and I attended the City County 2x2 on April 28th. We received an update on the American Rescue Plan budget planning, the county's budget planning process. Currently, the chief administrator is preparing a list of transformative items, which will be prepared, I guess, since it was the end of the month. So I gather it was maybe the end of April. And then over the course of May and June, department heads will be weighing in on these issues. And, we are going to take a look at cross-cutting issues such as youth development, capital outlay projects. We'll also be collaborating with school districts to see what we can do to work collaboratively and, bridging together our resources to help the community at large. So stay tuned, more information on that. In addition, my intern Maureen Paley presented her findings on research related to at-risk youth in West Sacramento, including probation youth in Yolo County. And we have about somewhere in the range of about 24% of the youth who are on probation and who reside in West Sacramento. And her findings were pretty informative on ideas and recommendations to work on ways to provide intervention and hope for our youth who are looking for job opportunities, strengthening their educational opportunities, seeking mentorship, and additional support, either mental health or substance abuse treatment. So those were some of the key areas that they were looking to get additional support. Very mature youth, and they also want to be seen as positive figures in the community. So I think that all of that is something we can work on together as a council. In addition, Yolo County is involved in the renaming of River Road to Mr. Kent Lang, who was a major contributor to our agricultural history. He was killed last year, I think it was September, along River Road in a car accident. So that was a tragic loss for our community. And we will commemorate his memory by renaming River Road with his name. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. In addition, we've had a number of vaccine clinics, and what we received as far as an update was a zip code in our area, 95605. Seems to be lagging in those that are accessing our vaccine clinics. So there's going to be more of a push to reach out to that area. I think Holy Cross, again, is designated as another vaccine site. I think this is coming Saturday. So just get the word out amongst your network. And we also received an update on the 5-year process of developing the county's cannabis land use ordinance. So that process concluded, and just wanted you to be aware that the county did establish buffer zones from the space between cannabis growth sites and residential areas. There didn't seem to be a significant overlap between the Yolo County. It's the unincorporated areas in the city. It was more of an impact in the woodland area. And so we seem to be okay, but just to make you aware, there's going to be about 132 total permits, up from 78. Including 95 for cultivation, 5 for nurseries, 7 for processing, 6 for manufacturing, 2 for testing, and 7 for distribution, and 5 for micro businesses. In addition, Operation Room Key is going to close in June, and WESAC has been very successful in the establishment of Project Room Key with the support of our local providers who assisted and stepped up to the plate and helped the occupants who were participating in Project Room Key and now Project Home Key in those cases. So we're going to, monitor the situation in addressing finding housing for those that are occupying the current Room Key locations, and possibly looking at state funding that we hear that the governor is going to be increasing in the May revise, which will be distributed on May 14th. And I believe we were tapped to take a look at another Project Home Key site. So that concludes my presentation. And let's move on to, I don't know if there's anybody else that wishes to speak, but I think we can move on to next item is 1C. There's one council appointment for the Board of Appeals. There was a vacancy for the alternate position. And I'd like to appoint Salim Manduhan, who requested to be in the Board of Appeals. He's one of our current applicants. And okay, just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Next is our consent agenda items 2 through 9. Are there any requests to remove an item for questions at this time? Going to remove item number 8 and go over. It is our proclamation for the big day of giving. And so I'm just going to read the proclamation and then also give a few individuals who are here today to get a chance to speak. It's a big day of giving is a way for our local nonprofit organizations who are significantly, especially during the pandemic, providing resources and support for our community. And if it not been for them and the contributions we make and the community at large, I think it would have been nearly impossible for us, for those that were heavily impacted, our essential workers, and as we looked at transitioning people off the streets and into housing, it would have been really impossible for us to be successful. And so it's really important, I think, that, greatly appreciate that we're able to recognize this day of giving. And in the past 8 years, more than 50,000 people in our region donated on the big day of giving, raising over $52 million that local nonprofits have used to improve the quality of life. And whereas this year, almost 700 nonprofits will participate in Big Day of Giving, 10 of which are based in West Sacramento. And whereas the day of Big Day of Giving is an opportunity for West Sacramento residents to show their community pride through supporting the good work of our local nonprofits. And whereas Philanthropist Investment helps hardworking nonprofits to make an impact on the causes that affect us all and provide donors with a sense of ownership and pride in their communities. And whereas local nonprofits have stepped up more than ever during the COVID-19 pandemic to help support West Sacramento residents. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council in the West City of West Sacramento does hereby recognize May 6th as the big day of giving and encourage all citizens to support the work of local nonprofit organizations who help in a big way to make sure West Sacramento community thrives. And with that, I'm going to ask, for there to be some public comment. Open it up for public comment at this point, Madam Clerk.
Yes, we have Mr. Don Bosley. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Let's see, I can't see you. Can you all see me? I hope you can. Good, okay. Well, it's great to be here, and just wanted to affirm and say thank you to council for this proclamation on the big day of giving. You said it very well, Madam Mayor, that it is more than just a fundraising window. It is very much an opportunity to take a look at what our priorities are as a community, where we can give, where we can help. We have so many people in our community who want to help. Myself, as the director of the Mercy Coalition, we find that fundraisers like this give us a chance to reach out and share a little bit of what we're doing, some of it at the Home Key program and elsewhere in the city. So we're really excited about tomorrow. And I love the synergy that comes from it in terms of just people wanting to do good. So it is good and right to have this proclamation. We're really grateful that you all are behind it. Thank you very much. I'll see you all online tomorrow, I trust, as all of this is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bosley.
Next, we have Mr. Michael Beach.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me. I want to thank the council for recognizing the tremendous community importance of the big day of giving. As Don mentioned, it's not just a terrific opportunity for local nonprofits to raise some much needed funding, but it also really urges them to up their games as far as a nonprofit, improve their corporate governance, and to highlight the terrific work that they're doing in the community, and also highlight the tremendous need that there is out there in the community. And as far as YOLO Food Bank goes, the pandemic has been a heavy lift, as the council members well know. You've all been volunteering at our distributions throughout West Sacramento. And it's pretty clear that not only has this been a heavy lift, but it's a heavy lift that's here to stay. We're anticipating that the needs are going to continue for many years at this elevated level. That said, YOLO Food Bank is already starting to pivot to address the underlying systemic issues. And so we've been reaching out to our local nonprofit partners in West Sacramento to figure out how we can best invest our resources to make meaningful change and permanent change. And man, we hope all of our funders and the donors out there will support this work, and not just support us, but support our other nonprofit partners such as Don and many others. So thank you very much for this proclamation, and I wish my nonprofit peers a very successful day tomorrow. Thank you.
Next, we have Petri Marchand.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Guerrero and members of the council. My name is Petria Marchand, and I serve as the treasurer on the board of directors of the Yolo County chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We serve all 4 cities and rural areas, since, as you know, mental illness affects everyone, regardless of geography, economics, or ethnicity. NAMI Yolo County envisions a stigma-free future where people affected by a mental health condition experience resilience and recovery with safe, affordable housing, meaningful activities, supportive relationships, and hope. We provide community to the isolated, a voice to the ignored, and assistance to those in need. And we are very grateful for the city's recognition of the Big Day of Giving, which we are a part of this year. So how does NAMI do all of this work to help support adults living with mental illness and their families? We have a dedicated network of volunteers and 2 staff physicians who in the past fiscal year managed a helpline that received over 50 calls every month, provided virtual support groups for both people living with mental illness and their families, hosted virtual classes for family members and friends supporting individuals with mental illness, delivered over 100 meals and 250 gifts during the holidays, and hosted 2 major virtual events, one in partnership with UC Davis, to raise awareness about mental illness and reduce stigma, each attended by over 200 people. In the next fiscal year, we'll return to offering our in-person classes and presentations, including In Your Own Voice, a presentation given by people living with mental illness that help reduce stigma, which we hope the City Council will invite us to present. On tomorrow's Big Day of Giving, I'm here to not only ask for support for Yolo County, but also suicide prevention of Yolo County and the Yolo County Care Continuum, which manages housing and crisis centers for adults living with mental illness, among other services. These nonprofits represent our community's mental health and crisis intervention safety net. And I urge the council and the community to support these nonprofits in any way you can, whether by donating, volunteering, or simply following us on social media. So anyone who's listening, please visit our website at www.namiyolo.org for more information. And this is most important, if you know anyone who needs help, please ask them to call our helpline for more assistance. Thank you to the mayor and the council members for all you do for our community and for drawing attention to this important day of giving.
Thank you, Petrea.
We have Ms. Diane Summers.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I just wanted to really recognize the support of Big Day of Giving and what that, oops, let me start the video. I'm sorry about that. I'm hoping that worked. I'm kind of new here to Zoom. All of our crisis services are done at our crisis center. And so Zoom is something that we don't have a lot of familiarity with. So I apologize for that. Again, I really want to thank the support of Big Day of Giving and really what it means to all of the organizations and nonprofits in Yolo County. During this very difficult period this past year, suicide prevention has been working round the clock every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to help with people in our community who are suffering from a variety of problems. It's not only, the whole idea with the pandemic, what it had meant, the isolation, the loneliness, suicidal ideation, and all of that. From April 2020 through April 2021, we received over 9,818 calls to our crisis line. Over 35 to 40% of these come from the West Sacramento area. So we have 46 volunteers who have been responding, as I said, in person during this time. And I really give them a lot of credit for really being on that front line, helping people as much as they do. So I just really wanted to thank you for the support from West Sacramento and any help that we receive to help fund our crisis services. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Summers.
That concludes our comments, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to council. Any comments from any of our council members on this Big Day of Giving proclamation?
I will, Madam Mayor. And first of all, thank you. I think we have to, we're done. I'll conclude it. We have to make a motion for the resolution or the whole consent agenda.
We have to think from the whole consent agenda, yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. But thank you to all those that are on the phone who dialed in to pitch your organization. And Madam Mayor, you said it right off the bat. Like a lot of the organizations really stepped up this year or the past year. And it is incumbent upon all of us as individuals and us as leaders on the council to reach out to our networks to urge them to give back and help these organizations. And there's so many other West Sacramento organizations, probably too many to name here. But certainly this is the time that we help them because they've been helping us and our community for the past year. But thank you all for showing up on the phone. Good to hear a few of your voices. Soon we'll be back in person and you can make the pitch in person. But again, if all of us, those millions of viewers watching tonight from West Sacramento, dig deep in your wallet and your iPhone, and it's super easy to give. And anyway, so good luck to everybody tomorrow.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma. Councilmember, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, did you say Orozco?
Yes, Councilmember Orozco.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep it brief. I just want to thank the folks who presented and talked about the work that their organizations do. And I also want to give a shout out to all the folks who step up day in and day out, regardless of whether or not they're associated with an organization or otherwise. There is something called the West Sac Way, and I don't know who made it up, but we all kind of try to exemplify it to the best of our ability, whether that's spending a Saturday morning at a local food bank or, handing out items on behalf of local organizations just to serve people in our little community. I really commend the directors of each of the organizations for bringing so much back to us, especially during the one, like as my colleague said already, the most trying year we've had in history, in recent history, I should say. And I these donations count for a lot of work that these organizations can do, many of which have, tapped out after giving so much, trying to keep us afloat. And it's tax deductible, so that's also a plus. So I will be busy tomorrow like my colleagues. And thank you so much, Madam Mayor, for pulling this item and giving the presentation. I know previously, previous Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Bab Sandine would do it every year, and it's really nice to see it back again.
Thank you, Councilmember Orozco. Councilmember Alcala.
I was just going to say that West Sacramentans are known for their generosity, but it's great that we have this one day, we can all put our efforts together, reaching out to our friends and making certain that we continue to sustain, this community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Alcala. And thank you. Appreciate all your effort to help, to contribute to our nonprofits. I've seen you all, mingling with them and, throughout the course of the year and being very supportive. So I thank everybody who spoke today and greatly appreciate all the work you've done this last couple of years. I know it's been a hardship on all of us. Nonprofits have been struggling and hope it turns out to be a huge success tomorrow. So applaud you for all the work and, pray that you get, a lot of money pouring in on the big day of giving. With that, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem moved and Councilmember Orozco seconds. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, next we'll move to our time set agenda item number 10 under community development. It's a public hearing and first reading of ordinance 21-4 regarding a proposed zone text amendment to conditionally permit fueling stations in the limited industrial zone. I think Mr. Laffey is going to present on this item.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The zone text amendment before you tonight was requested by Clean Energy Fuels to facilitate the expansion of their existing renewable natural gas fueling station at 4305 West Capitol Avenue. Fueling stations are not currently a permitted use in the limited industrial zone, and this zone text amendment would make them a conditionally permitted use, meaning the city would retain discretionary land use approval over any new fueling stations or modifications and expansions to existing stations in the limited industrial zone. Conditionally permitted uses require a conditional use permit granted by the city's planning commission. The planning commission reviewed this proposed amendment and adopted resolution 21-2PC on April 1st, which recommends the city council adopt ordinance 21-4. The planning commission also approved a conditional use permit. Sorry, my monitor here is falling. The planning commission also approved a conditional use permit for the fueling station expansion at 4305 West Capitol Avenue, and that use permit is predicated on City Council approval of this ordinance tonight. So if the zone text amendment is not approved, the conditional use permit that the Planning Commission approved about a month ago would be void. So the reason that staff is supportive of this zone text amendment to facilitate the expansion of the clean energy fueling station is because it would help to implement the city's clean air and climate goals. The applicant in their justification statement said the compressed natural gas would be from renewable sources like food waste and landfills and wastewater, and not from fossil fuels. The city has many businesses with commercial fleet vehicles that use diesel engines, and the applicant has indicated many of these businesses have begun transitioning to natural gas vehicles when that fueling option is located in near proximity. The city staff also received a comment letter in support of the fueling expansion and zone text amendment from the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. And per the Air District's letter, renewable CNG vehicles have 90% fewer emissions than a new diesel vehicle. So they're much better for the air quality. In addition, the city has begun work on the climate action plan, and one of the major findings so far, which is not really a surprise, is that on-road vehicles account for a large portion of the city's GHG emissions, and a dramatic reduction in transportation GHG emissions is needed in the coming years for the city to reach emissions reduction targets. Having more commercial fleets transition away from diesel to CNG can help us get there in the interim while waiting for the commercial electric fleet vehicles to become more readily available. This concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And the applicant's representative, I think, is on the call. I don't recognize any of the names, but I think they're on the call.
Okay. Would they, so are they available to answer any questions at this point?
I see Orion Kenny from Clean Energy, his hand up.
Yes, I do. Clarify, Mr. Laffey, are they here to be a part of the presentation, or are they just here to answer any questions?
Yeah, I was here to testify in support. I think I have some colleagues on the phone as well who can ask questions for you.
Okay, there is a public comment period which we can include as part of that. I just wanted to make sure, just to get a level of coordination here on. We did receive Mr. Laffey's presentation, and you can be a part of. I just wanted to make sure for Mr. Laffey what his presentation included.
Yeah, I think Mr. Campbell's hand is also raised. He also works for Clean Energy. Mr. Todd Campbell.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am here. My name is Todd Campbell. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy and Regulatory Affairs for Clean Energy. And our full team is actually on the call, able to answer the council's questions as you wish to proceed.
Okay, thank you. And we'll open it up for questions among the council members. Comments, feedback, thoughts? No? And we'll now open it up for public comment. At this point, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak under public comment?
Yes, Mayor. We have Tom Svensson. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening. This is Tom Swenson. I'm with Cummins. We actually build the engine that runs on the natural gas fuel that would go into the station that's under consideration. We have a facility in West Sacramento on Riverside Parkway, which is right around the corner from the California Highway Patrol Academy. And we service these natural gas vehicles, and at times we need to get fuel to support our customer base, and this station, would pretty much be right around the corner from us, and so we would, we would utilize it when we need to, and so I wanted to just speak in support of the agenda item.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have California Natural Gas Vehicle Coalition.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. I am Nicole Rice, president of the California Natural Gas Vehicle Coalition, speaking in support of this item. And I will keep it short in the interest of time for all the reasons that staff stated for the benefits of this project. We just ask the council to adopt the staff's recommendation on moving the project forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is Ms. Chandron going to talk about this, or is part of the applicants? Okay, they lowered their hand. That's it, Mayor Pereira.
All right, I see one more hand up, Mr. Ryan Kenny.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Ryan Kenny with Energy. And I'm coming from a local perspective. I play in the city softball league and have for the last 10 years. And we go out and run around each week and for exercise and to be healthy. And I think the staff report really exemplified what we're trying to do is as far as living with clean air and having less greenhouse gas emissions. And we obviously know the diesel traffic that goes through the 80 and 5 corridors, which surround the city. And this really will help contribute to less diesel emissions and decreased greenhouse gas emissions, and with a lot less pollution. So getting those diesel trucks off the road is a very good positive step for the city, and we're very much in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't see any other requests for public comment. Close the public comment, and I didn't see anything in writing either under this item, and bring it back to council for comments or questions. Councilmember Mayor Bertin Ledesma.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick acknowledgement to staff for pulling this together, and I know they had to kind of go at the Planning Commission who approved it and the conditional use permit as well. But this is in line with directionally where the city is going with the climate action plan and our commitment to lowering greenhouse gases, which the big culprit is transportation. So this is right in line with that. So unless there's any other question or comment, I'll make a motion.
I'll offer a second.
Thank you, Mayor Bertin Ledesma, and Councilmember Orozco seconds. And just Councilmember Alcala.
I'm sorry, I was getting ready to just give an eye.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Orozco, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay, just want to say to Mr. Laffey and everyone here, this took extraordinary teamwork to get to where we're at today, to achieve our goals on reducing gas emissions. And as Mayor Bertin Ledesma knows very well, public transportation is at a premium. We're working hard. He's working very hard on this. Area has been working hard for years, and just reducing the number of cars on our roads and trying to clean our air. He's also been a part of the West Sacramento Mayor's Climate Change Commission, which I think West Sacramento is further ahead on addressing that. And this gets us closer to reaching our goals. And so given the forethought and the preparation and planning all these years, with the city staff, we've accomplished quite a bit. And this is taking us a huge step in the right direction. So with that, I'll ask Madam Clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's start with Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, next item on our time-set agenda, item number 11 under Economic Development and Housing, is a public hearing and consideration of Resolution 21-28 establishing the City of West Sacramento Book of Fees for waterfront activities. I believe it's Mr. Lee.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you tonight is a recommendation to conduct a public hearing and adopt Resolution 21-28, establishing the book of fees related to waterfront activities. As you may already know, our new Itanesh Zalik public dock was recently constructed, and our municipal code was just updated and adopted by council tonight to regulate activities there, including requiring that vessels obtain a berthing permit, and for that berthing permit fee to be established by resolution of the council. Staff recommends that council establish that berthing permit fee tonight as shown in Exhibit A of the agenda report. This fee is also set at a comparable rate to other public docks in the area and will help offset city costs. Establishing this fee requires that council hold a public hearing prior to adopting the fee. With that, I will return this item back to the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And bring it back to council for any questions or comments. None. Open it up for public comment. Any request to speak? I don't see anything in writing, Madam Clerk.
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public comment, bring it back to council. Any other comments? If not, we'll accept a motion to move.
So moved.
Member Alcala moved.
Second.
Councilmember Orozco seconds. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Is Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for all your work on this, and your presentation was very concise and to the point. Appreciate it. All right, next item on our agenda is item number 12 under fire is a public hearing to consider objections to the proposed removal of weeds. And I believe our fire marshal, Brian Johnson, is here to present on this item.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. On April 21st, City Council adopted Resolution 2125, which began the city's weed abatement process. Notices were then mailed to property owners who have or may have a vegetation nuisance on their property. It is respectfully recommended tonight City Council open a public hearing to hear objections and or comments on those notices and allow staff to continue with the weed abatement program. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And thank you for all your work on addressing this. It's noticeable that it does impact reducing the opportunity for a big fire to spread. So thank you for continuing that work. Council member, are there any questions or comments at this point? Open it up for public hearing. Madam Clerk, I have not seen anything in writing. Are there any requests to speak?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. All right, bring it back to council. And Mr. Johnson, this is probably very easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I may, thank you, Brian. I know that we had one communication today. I think you followed up on that, so thank you.
I did. You're welcome.
And this is every year you take care of this, so appreciate all the work. And with that, I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
All right, Council Mayor Pro Tem moves. Councilmember also seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. Thank you. Fire Marshal Johnson, appreciate all the hard work you were doing out there, and just keep up the great work.
Thank you. Will do.
Next on our regular agenda, item number 13 is under capital projects and transportation is consideration of resolution 21-24 approving an amendment to the capital improvement project budget for the West Capitol Avenue Safety Enhancement and Road Rehabilitation Project, CIP 15029. And I believe Mr. Teves is going to be our assistant engineer for capital projects and transportation department will present today.
Yes. Hi, Madam Mayor. And it's Teves, but
Teves. Thank you for the clarification. I do that a lot.
So let me go ahead and get the presentation set up. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Ryan Teves, and I am a construction project manager for the West Capitol Avenue Safety Enhancement and Road Rehabilitation Project. Joining me for tonight's presentation is Vin Kay, Supervising Engineer for Capital Projects and Transportation. Tonight's presentation is a construction progress update of the project, an update to the project budget and funding, and a look ahead of the upcoming schedule and project milestones, as well as City staff's respectful recommendation of City Council to adopt Resolution 21-24, approving an amendment to CIP 151029. If at any times you have questions, please feel free to stop me, or we will have time at the end of the presentation for discussion. The West Capitol Avenue project is divided into 5 segments related to the types of improvements, as well as the different and unique planning zones of the project. We will look closer into each segment of the project in the following slides. Beginning with segment 1, the industrial area between Yolo Causeway Bike Path and Interstate 80. Included in this segment is the city's new corporation yard currently under construction. Improvements in this area begin at the Yolo Causeway Bike Trail with an accessible pedestrian and bicycle crosswalk, as well as bike lanes on each side of West Capitol Avenue. Heading east begins the installation of nearly 1 mile of new water utilities and 17 water service connections, with future connections for eliminating the consumption of well water. Also, Over 1 mile of new sidewalks are being installed on the south side of West Capitol Avenue, with existing sidewalks and driveways being installed or replaced. In addition, over 150 streetlights have been installed along the entire corridor, providing nighttime illumination and visibility for all users. Fiber optics are also being completed for internet connectivity to the new corporation yard. Finally, extensive road rehabilitation and pavement resurfacing will be completed later this summer. Segment 2 is classified as an industrial and commercial zone from Interstate 80 to Harbor Boulevard. Included in this segment is the Meadowdale neighborhood and several retail and restaurant amenities at Harbor Boulevard. The Meadowdale residential neighborhood is located in this industrial zone, and providing a connection to Harbor Boulevard necessitated frontage improvements, which include sidewalks, streetlights, and a pedestrian crossing to access YOLO bus routes. Also, West Capitol Avenue is being widened for placement of separated bike lanes. At Harbor Boulevard, improvements include new traffic signals, video detection for vehicle and bicycles, accessibility and safety, as well as new street signs and red light turning restrictions onto Harbor Boulevard. Segment 3 is classified as the commercial and residential zone between Harbor Boulevard and Poplar Avenue. This area serves as a connector to Harbor Boulevard with the various commercial and retail amenities for the several neighborhoods in this segment, such as the Park, El Rancho, Mobile Homes, and Sycamore Trail. Improvements along this segment of the corridor are focused on the safety and accessibility for all users. Improvements include installation of enhanced pedestrian crossings with center median protection and flashing beacons. Also, the reconstruction of accessible crosswalk and streetlights have been installed at all locations. Lastly, city staff has coordinated with YOLO Bus for the replacement of bus shelters along the entire West Capitol Avenue corridor. Segment 4, between Poplar Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard, is known as the Downtown and Central Business District of West Capitol Avenue. Included in the zone are the intersections of Poplar Avenue, West Acre Road, and Jefferson Boulevard. Safety and accessibility were also the focus for this segment of West Capitol Avenue. Improvements at these locations are separated bike lanes with protective buffers and posts, and accessible crosswalks at all intersections. Additional improvements to the intersections are extensive traffic signal upgrades at each intersection. These upgrades include video detection units for vehicles and bicycles, new signal heads, as well as traffic pole replacement and installation. Lastly, new water utilities have been installed between Jefferson Boulevard and West Acre Road, replacing the outdated and aging existing water systems. The final segment of the project is the freeway interchange between Merkley Avenue and Park Boulevard. This segment includes improvements at Merkley Avenue with the installation of traffic poles to dedicate left turn movements onto Jefferson Boulevard, replacing traffic signals, new street signs, as well as the installation of streetlights. In addition, accessible pedestrian crossings were installed at all locations. Final improvements for this segment include road rehabilitation up to the freeway ramps at Park Boulevard. Currently, the West Capitol Avenue project has completed $5 million in work as shown, with $8 million in work remaining. The additional $1,500,000 is requested by city staff to complete the project. Due to the uncertainty of city finances at the time of construction award, and amid the global pandemic, staff recommended and council concurred to move forward with the project knowing the appropriated budget was insufficient. At this time, staff is recommending to amend the project budget as noted in the recommended action as well of the staff report to achieve project quality and prevent premature road failure. The breakdown of the funding request is shown in Table 3 of the staff of the agenda report. To summarize, construction has been in progress for over 8 months since the beginning of July last year and has faced several challenges due to utility conflict. Significant progress has been made over this time, and then final improvements are currently underway. Underground utility, sidewalk installation, and traffic signal improvements are planned for completion this summer. Following completion of these items, we'll begin the pavement rehabilitation and striping improvements, which are expected for completion in August and September, respectively. This concludes my presentation, and I will open the floor for comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kivas. Bring it back to council for any questions. I'm sorry, I can't see you, so let me scroll around. Councilmember Orozco.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry, is it Ryan or Vin? Who's gonna, I guess I'll ask the question, I'll let whoever can answer back. Or even it's Roberta. I know that there's a request here for $708,000 from Measure E. I wanted to know what the fund balance was for the road the Fund 110.
Hi, this is Roberta. I know I should have that available. I've got the Measure E fund balance. I know is somewhere around 2.5 or 3 million. I'd have to double check that, and it's probably a little bit more because I think some funds are being returned from the project Home Key. We do not track, however, an ongoing fund balance by target area or by category. The council has set targets, dollar amounts for each year for those areas. And so anything that is not spent in those areas just falls into the Measure E fund balance to be used for any of the eligible items or matches on grants or things that the council would like to use it for. So we don't track a fund balance by category. But overall, I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's about 2.5 to 3 million, I believe, is available in Measure E or more.
Well, I mean, I know that was in previous years that the past council had designated particular areas for particular projects, like whether it be smart cities or reducing the impacts or incidences of homelessness. And I know roads was in there. And that said, it also is bike and pedestrian trail related. What about the Measure K fund? What's in the reserve for the future CIP?
That reserve is $800,000. It was set aside several years ago for unidentified future CIP projects where the council may like to spend that money. And unfortunately, like I'm not connected to the VPN to pull up my balance. There is a available fund balance in Measure K outside of that reserve, I believe to the tune of about $700,000 or $800,000. But the $800,000 is all that exists in that reserve for future CIP projects. There are other reserves within Measure K for specific purposes as well.
Now, Vin, you and I have spoken about different funding sources for roads. Are there any other potential funding sources such as grants, in addition to the $250,000 that we received from the, well, I guess we received today, which is great, the Cal Recycle grant, but is there any others for a project like this?
Yeah, typically it is difficult to receive grant funding purely for road rehabilitation. As you can tell, as you are probably aware, this project is a majority of the funding actually came from grant funds, and especially the ATP improvements, the non-roadway improvements for safety and for alternative transportation program improvements for the buffer bike lanes. That's where a lot of that grant funding came from. This project is actually heavily leveraged with our limited funds, and combining that with our utility funds to get this rolling. This late in the progress of this project, we're actually near the end of construction. Of course, you know, any project of this magnitude, it takes a couple of years to develop. For all our future road rehab or improvement projects, we always try to look at it from a perspective of what grants are out there, what grants are available that we can leverage our Measure E or Measure N, Measure K, whatever local funding we have, we try to leverage, you know, those resources, those opportunities. But unfortunately, when it comes to just repairing roads or, you know, plain old vehicular travel, there isn't that much out there, because that is for the most part dependent on the gas tax, which has not been adjusted, you know, for a long time. So thankfully, there's been some improvements with SB1, but we sort of, you know, try to prioritize that for the state's streets area.
Well, when this was brought to council back, year or 2 years ago, I mean, I was highly supportive of the project. I mean, it's an expensive investment, $17 million for a stretch of 3 miles in the city, but it's also probably the most identifiable road within the city, with the, you know, a few others along the side or nearby. But I also recognize that the reason we did that is because we wanted to make an investment and reduce the number of accidents and ensure the safety of anyone who wanted to travel within the city on the bike or on foot, and really kind of give one of the most notorious streets in West Sacramento a facelift. So I appreciate the fact that there is the reduction in costs, and that there was another grant that was added to this. I definitely am supportive of making the project come to fruition, and understand that there were pitfalls along the way. So thank you for the presentation. And thank you for the hard work. We see you out, well, not you, but we see the workers out there. It's been kind of a spectacle for us every time I drive by with my sons to see the progress we have going there. And it makes me proud to know that our team has worked so efficiently on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Orozco. Any other questions from staff? All right, we'll open it up. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
I was going to say here, I'll save comments and questions for after public comment.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. Madam Clerk, I haven't received anything in writing. Is there anything, anyone requesting to speak?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment, bring it back to Council. Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Thank you, Mayor, and Vin and staff. Hey, thanks for the update. I actually drove down West Capitol last Saturday, and just to see how progress was going. And really the pictures don't do it justice. The improvements you made that are being made. I'm really trying not to talk like an old timer on council, but it's hard because we did the West Cap rehab streetscape in front of City Hall. If you look behind the mayor on her visual, you know, that whole streetscape was, you know, we thought step one of where we wanted to go with West Capitol. We just could never get to the rest of West Capitol. But, you know, this was a big effort. A large part, Councilmember Orozco gets it right? There's just safety issues that have been associated with West Capitol. This is long overdue. And so very proud of the progress that's being made, and appreciate the visual update. But I looked at it last week, and happy to see the cutouts and the medians and the sidewalk improvements for the length of the corridor. So all that aside, thank you. But I do want to bookmark an issue that my colleague brought up, which is more administrative, how we approach we've historically approached measures and requesting funding for measures. And that is that ensuring that we do have transparency about the use of Measure E or Measure N or Measure K and is alignment with those policies that were drafted. I was one of the drafters of the Measure E policy and ran the campaign and got the voters to approve it by a wide margin because it does fit into it. I think I can say that because the road element of it was an important component for voters of that year, 2016, I think it's right, or 2014. When we did that, it was because it was just hugely important that we have, for the reasons you stated, we did not have a lot of road fund money, and so it fits into it. But I don't want to bookmark it for staff and city management that as you come to us with this, it is important we have an understanding of kind of what the proposal is, the use of it, and kind of what remains in it. So just a caveat or kind of reminder that that's an important part of our how we govern and make sure as we policymakers want to make sure we're in alignment with what the voters asked for. And two is that it's transparent to the public. So, but I am supportive of this. I don't want that to overshadow the work that's being done because this is a really, really important project for our city. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Desmond. Councilmember Alcala.
Thank you. How long will it take to complete this project?
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Alcala. Currently, construction schedule has the August 24th as the expected completion date of the project.
Okay, thank you. And, I really want to thank the council members for making the decision to work and make certain that that part of our city, got the same attention that the other parts of our city have gotten. For a long time. It was neglected. And I have a lot of friends that live out in that area. And the fact that we're putting in, new pipes for the water is so critical. A lot of my friends would buy the bottled water because they said they couldn't drink anything that came from some of those taps. So I think that that's moving in a great direction. Having, taken the bus for many years before I got a car, I remember how horrible it would be, to have to take the bus and be out there with no type of shade, against the sun or, rainy weather. So I'm really happy that they're putting in the bus shelters. I think that's going to be really great for a lot of our residents that do have to take the bus. And Councilmember Orozco brought up a very important part. I mean, there was no lighting out there. And I remember constantly hearing about deaths that would take place out in that industrial road, because someone hadn't seen someone crossing. Maybe they were wearing dark clothing or something like that. So I'm really happy that these improvements are being made. I know it's costly, but then when you think about, the quality of life, it makes so much sense to make these improvements and, make things better for everyone here. So thank you, to our council. I wasn't on the council when these decisions were made, but they affect everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Alcala. And I appreciate the questions by my fellow council members on the revenue sources, and also appreciate the comments referencing transparency and fiscal transparency on all of our revenue sources and expenditures is extremely important. We have questions about, getting other things taken care of, and we have to respond that there's not enough money. We prioritize where funding goes and how it gets spent. And at the same time, some of these things are very expensive. If we took so long to repair them, it's triple the cost if we would have, taken care of it about 10 years ago. And we've been experiencing these issues for a very long time. I've been living here for these over 16 years and constantly hearing how West Capitol was just very dangerous, and the road conditions were dangerous, and it's a major travel fairway for people from Davis on bicycles. So it reduces car traffic, and to see that we're going to create, the enhancements for bike and pedestrian in that area is going to both be safer for our pedestrians and for our bikers. It's been, there's a lot of publicity in social media about the upgrade that's going on. People are having a hard time driving through right now, but glad to see it's coming to completion pretty soon so that we can open that up and they can see that we are making some major improvements for it to be safer. And, I'd like to see what we can do in the future among all my council members to create more fiscal transparency on our expenditures as a process. And we know, I know it's expensive. We got to do it now, but if we don't do it now I'm looking at all the differences on the variations of the original cost and the revised cost. Things are just going to get more expensive if we continue to wait. So I'd like to get this done right away. So with that, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilmember Orozco seconds. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. Thank you for all your hard work in this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, council members.
Thank you and good night.
Have a good night. Next item is item 14 under community development is consideration of resolution 21-27 accepting public improvements completed for subdivision 4887 Southport Business Park Phase 4 located in the southeast corner of Southport Business Park. And I think we have Mr. Robinson. There you are.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'd like to start by speaking a little bit about the substance of this item, which is fairly straightforward, and then cover some related concerns that have been raised by residents of the residential areas that are near Southport Business Park and the areas adjoining the subject area for these improvements. Substantively, the Council's acceptance of infrastructure associated with subdivisions is a routine action that the Council sees similar items all the time, including on tonight's consent agenda. And in its essence, this report, talks about actions that are no different. And basically, the developer in Southport Business Park was expected as a condition of this subdivision map to construct a set of improvements, basically an L-shaped segment of Ramco Street at the southern portion of the business park. And they were required in a subdivision improvement agreement to do that in a certain way, which they've now done. The improvements have been inspected and staff has determined that they have completed the improvements in accordance with the subdivision improvement agreement and the map. So the item before you tonight essentially requests that you approve Resolution 21-27, which officially accepts the improvements and would allow them to become city facilities. The reason that the item was brought forward previously and withdrawn, and we needed to talk to the residents some more, a number of concerns were raised. There are some areas of overlap substantively with this report, but really the report came against a backdrop of a bigger discussion that has been ongoing for a number of months between staff and the businesses and landowners in Southport Business Park and residents of areas that adjoin the business park around noise and vibrations and other effects that the residents perceive are emanating from Southport Business Park. And staff's been working to try and arrive at solutions that will allow those uses to peacefully coexist together. During the process here, following the initial presentation of the report, when the report was originally withdrawn, we've met several times. Staff has met several times with residents in an attempt to better understand their concerns. And really, there's a couple areas where we have been able to understand those and address them. One of them is the placement of the trees along the southern portion, the east-west portion of Ramco Street. As we noted in the staff report, there's a little disconnect in the PD21 document relative to trees. The type of tree that is called for there is a London plane tree, which is a fast-growing tree that develops an enormous canopy, which will be at maturity excellent for absorbing sound and the kind of concerns that residents have expressed. But the ideal placement for those based on, input we got from tree experts was 35 feet. So that's how they went in. They're 35 feet apart. And the residents have correctly pointed out that the landscape guidelines that are relevant here call for a 20-foot tree spacing. So the residents, in their public comment on the previous item and on, in our meetings with them, expressed a lot of interest in having a tree spacing that conforms with the black and white, in the landscape guidelines of 20 feet. So we were able, based on that concern, we were able to circle back with the developer, and the developer has agreed to put in 33 additional trees in between the London plains, and they found it's a sumac tree. It's a species of tree that will coexist with the London plains. And ultimately, we expect we'll be able to get down to a placement of trees, a spacing that's less than 20 feet. So we were able to substantively address that concern. During our conversations also with the residents, they also expressed kind of a broader concern procedurally with how staff has approached deviations from the PD21 text, and the location of the sidewalk along Ramco Street really kind of crystallized that. So, as the public comments have noted and residents have noted, the diagram in PD21 calls for that sidewalk to be located on the south side of Ramco Street, and it has been constructed on the north side of Ramco Street. And that was with staff's approval because, for the best of intentions, we feel substantively that locating the sidewalk on the north is better for residents in the sense that it moves the sidewalk a little further away from the backyards that abut Ramco Street. So hopefully there's a little less sound from pedestrians walking there. Hopefully the dogs in the backyard might not bark as much. So the sidewalk is moved. It also puts the sidewalk on the side of the street that will serve more businesses. So we expect to see less sort of unwanted movements across the middle of Ramco Street to get from where the businesses are to where the sidewalk is. And lastly, there's a fixed amount of space between the back of curb on Ramco and the sound wall there. So by moving the sidewalk, it actually creates an extra 6 feet of area that can be filled in with landscaping. So from a substantive perspective, we're confident that that's the right location for the sidewalk. But the residents' concerns in terms of the approach that we took to get there are well taken, in the sense that we really ought to have had a more transparent process that led to that decision instead of taking that approach administratively. So that we do definitely take that point, and our plan would be in the future if a situation comes up, and we expect that it might. With PD21 being as old a document as it is, we expect that there may be other situations that arise where staff's professional expertise suggests a slightly different approach than the black and white of the document. We will definitely take a different approach on those going forward. So, point well taken there. So with those two issues aside, though, we believe the substance of this report is solid. There's every reason to accept these improvements, and we recommend that the council approve resolution 21-27. And with that, I can attempt to answer any questions. We also have a principal engineer, Mark Collier, available, and a representative from the developers also available.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to council for any questions. No questions? Okay, open it up for public comment at this point. Madam Clerk, I do see something in writing. Are there any speakers tonight requesting to speak?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
All right, and just for the purpose of public comment, the one person who wrote, Wendy Motuka, presented her appreciation for staff's involvement as a result of the item being held over to work with the residents and address the concerns, and also urging caution on future development, that any future steps going forward to ensure that designs meet the PD21 ordinances development standards, or that proposed modifications to the standards be subject to public review before the improvements are installed. That might have helped us to, I don't really know if it would, but that there's been ongoing concerns over what's been going on that we've all been hearing from. And I sympathize in that can hear the noise as well. So with that, close the public comment and bring it back to council for questions or comments. Councilmember Orozco.
Thank you. I just want to thank you, Mr. Robinson, for taking the time to outreach and respond to the many concerns we all on the council have received. My first home that I purchased in West Sacramento was in that neighborhood, and the complexion has changed pretty dramatically in just the last year. So I can respect and appreciate the concerns of the residents who have reached out to us. Obviously, with the development that was postponed for so long and now is coming in, like a flash, it is very alarming. And the concerns expressed, they're very real from the residents. And I know that, thank you, Ms. Matuka, for expressing that appreciation and working with staff along with the others. John, I appreciate the fact that you also acknowledge our movement for transparency and respect, responsibility for maybe considering, a better process in the future should there be any deviations from the old plan. So anyhow, that's all I wanted to say. I do think that it was a good idea for us to put this matter off to come to a resolution that was mutually a little bit more, agreeable to all sides. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Thank you. I just will keep it brief. Thank you, John, for all your work on this in the past, not just few weeks. We know this has been bubbling up for a bit, and so you've been working with us and listening to the residents, and so thank you for the background work and just kind of putting a flag in something. It's not stopping. We're still working on issues and talking to folks. Both residents and the businesses about how, when these kind of neighborhood conflicts come up, I was kind of try to stick to the concept of we all got to share the neighborhood. And in this case, you've done a great job taking responsibility, which I appreciate, as Councilmember Orozco pointed out, and taking action. And so thank you for that. And thank you. Also, I know the applicant here has been one of has been very forthright and proactive in trying to help and understand. This is a project that's unfortunately got caught right in the wind of it, but this is part of our duty, is to kind of move this part of the project forward and hopefully keep the dialogue going between all the measures, all the residents and businesses, keep it going so that we can kind of get to a better place. But anyway, I just want to thank you, John, and staff and everybody for the work on this. And I'm supportive of this moving forward. And if there's no other comment, I can make a motion. I'm not sure if Councilor Roncallo wants to make it. Good?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma. Appreciate all the feedback. And I also appreciate all the work that the Executive Vice President, Michelle Acevedo, with Ridge Capital Inc. has put into in connecting with the residents. It's been a lot of work, and we do have a lot, a little more growth happening out there with the warehouses, and there is, definitely some compassion among those that are in the development phase of this. I'm also sympathetic to the residents who were living there for quite a period of time without any intrusion. And the PD21 didn't foresee all of what's happened as far as progress, and the ecology has evolved quite a bit with the detention basin and all the beautiful landscaping. It's become a kind of like good recreational area for the residents. So with the building of warehouses, I mean, it's a disruption and a loss for what's grown there over the years as a result of just it being stagnant and that warehouse is not being built. Appreciate though the business owners who are coming in and building and helping out in our economy. Trying to find a balance. My impression after really thoroughly looking at PD 21 did strike that balance. It did foresee a little bit the proximity of those residents that were going to be moving in there, and what PD 21 is required to do to provide some buffer, some screening as far as the trees, some spacing in order to establish that buffer. And also, you know, what the buildings would look like, what the lighting would look like, what the noise, you know, would be presented. And, you know, probably back then we didn't have a whole lot of beeping sounds on backup trucks, and we didn't anticipate businesses going on 24 hours a day. And that's what we have. So I hear it, you know, I keep my windows open and hopefully I can fall asleep, but I hear all of that. And trying to provide that balance and moving forward, trying to stick closely to what PD 21 is expecting, you know, for future development is, I think, pretty critical. And, you know, we didn't make any concessions for CEQA when we saw what was going, you know, what's been happening there over the years. So I anticipate we won't make any more concessions, you know, once there's future build out. And so with that, I just appreciate all your work, John. I know this is very challenging to accomplish. We put you through a lot. You probably worked a ton of overtime for all of this and maybe lost some sleep. So I appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you.
And Mayor Protem moved. I'll accept a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Orozco. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. Okay. We are now wrapping things up, and we will take up council calendar. Assistant City Manager Berlin.
Good evening. So it's not on the calendar yet, but it is scheduled for June 8th is the State of the City. That's going to be at Sutter Health Park. So as the days progress, we'll have some more information for you about all the goings on for that. And that's it for calendar.
Thank you so much. That is also probably the city manager report. Okay.
So I don't have anything specific for the city manager report, but I did want to say for the West Capitol Avenue project item that ordinarily we would do a Measure E analysis that would accompany agenda report that had use of Measure E funds, and we missed the boat on that this time. So we'll make sure that going forward, when we have use of Measure E, that we'll include that analysis for you guys.
Thank you. City Attorney report.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Staff direction from City Council members. None. And future agenda item request by council. None. And I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I only do seconds.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Roscoe, I'll call a moved. Councilmember Roscoe second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Councilmember Ledesma, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
And Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.